Hello, welcome back to another lesson on learning Wagtail. We are sort of in a sub-series at this point, and we are talking largely about Wagtail's V2 API. And what we see here on the page is Django REST Framework. This is their nice little graphic user interface where we can actually see everything that's being spit out. This is an optional thing that we've enabled by enabling REST Framework, and it gives us a very simple way to confirm what kind of data that we are getting back from Wagtail. Now in this video, what I want to go over is fetching different types of data through our URL. So currently I'm on the homepage detail page, and I'm just going to go back to our listing page where we have 8 pages in total. We have a homepage, a flex page, a blog listing page, detail page, blog article page, and a video blog page. Oh, and also a contact page. Okay, so we have those types of pages. What if we only ever wanted to get all the blog detail pages, for instance? Well, as of right now, you're going to have to get all of this data and you're going to have to make JavaScript loop through it. Well, the problem with that is the server is now generating all of this data, which means more queries, which means more processing time, which means a slower AJAX request, and you don't want that. Instead, what we can do is, first of all, let's take a look here. So we have 6 queries in 1 millisecond. So not that that's slow by any means, but what we could do is we could say we want the type is equal to a blog, and what did we call that? Blog detail page. So blog detail page. And this gives us a total count of 4. So we have a blog detail page, first blog post, blog detail page, blog post number 2, an article blog page, this is interesting, and a video blog page, also interesting. So a while ago, I created a video that talked about class inheritance. So you could create one page and then you could extend upon it. And what we actually ended up doing was we had a blog detail page, sort of as the quote unquote parent page, and the blog detail page was then used instead of inheriting from a Wagtail page, we inherited from the blog detail page. And we created a new class called article blog page. And we created one more called video blog page. Well, Wagtail is smart enough that it says, oh, you want the blog detail page? Okay, I'll give you the blog detail page. And also its child pages, because they are all technically coming from the same place. Now that did nothing for our queries here, but if we had, let's say, 500 different pages versus, what do we have here? 4 different pages, or 3 different pages for a total of 4. We're going to see that our queries will get significantly faster because it has less work to do. So this is how you would list all of your blog detail pages. And it doesn't just have to be a blog detail page either. It could be, let's do home. This is a terrible example, but we do home.homepage, and this will give us 1. This will give us our homepage. If at any point in time, your front-end framework needs a specific type of page, you now know how to get that. It will always give you a list, even if there's only 1 item in there, so it's consistent. And if there is more than 1 item, you can loop through it. Even if there is only 1 item, well, it's a list, or in JavaScript, it's called an array. You can still loop through that as well. So your front-end code is not really going to change if there's 1 or more different pages that come back. All right, let's go to our listing page and let's find another example here. So we have our home page, and in the previous video, what we did was we enabled some custom fields. So if I go to pages/3, I am now on the detail page. Let me hide that, put that away. And in our detail page, we have a banner title, banner subtitle, banner image, and a banner CTA. We also have a bunch of meta information in here that we may or may not actually need. Now, in a single page application, you probably want a detail URL, and you probably want an HTML URL. These are great for creating links to other API endpoints, but it's also good for, in this example, the HTML URL is good for creating links in your HTML, in your virtual DOM. But maybe you don't need to see if it shows in menus. Okay, so we are on our homepage detail page. It gives us a detail URL, which is useful, HTML URL, which is useful, first published at for a homepage, probably not useful. The parent, the fact that it doesn't have a parent is not useful, not really. It's just consistent data so that if you looked up any other page, let's change this to a random number 5, we're going to see there is a parent page, there is a first published at, and sometimes on some pages you need those. So Wagtail is just being consistent and lets you filter these out, but you need to be able to figure out how to filter these out. So you can add a query string into your URL. It's $fields is equal to, and then if you just wanted to, you could put an asterisk, and this will give you every single field. It's already showing us every single field, but what if we didn't want to see any fields? What if, for whatever reason, your application said, let's make an AJAX request, but for whatever reason, I want no data to return? You could put an underscore, and we can see that here. Fields is equal to underscore, and shows us literally nothing. Now you're probably thinking, well, that's totally useless. And you're right, it is useless. But what it does is it resets everything so that we don't have to go through every single field and tell it explicitly which ones we want. What we can say is get rid of everything and instead only show me the things that I want to see. So let's get rid of everything. And we're going to put a comma in our URL. And then let's also say that we want the ID. That might be useful. The page title, the banner title, the HTML URL, and the detail URL for internal API lookups. So we can see that we have, basically, it's just a comma-separated list in our URL. Wagtail, along with Django REST Framework, will parse this and say, oh, okay, well, you said you didn't want anything, so I'll get rid of everything. Oh, actually, you wanted ID title, banner title, HTML URL, and detail URL. And that's what it gave us. It got rid of everything else. Now, a place that you'd use that is basically any single page application where you don't need all the information. If you don't need to make your server work harder, if you don't need to transfer more data in JSON format through the internet wire, the faster your application is going to load and the happier your user is going to be. Realistically, that's really what it comes down to. So it's always a good idea to only return the fields that you actually need. Now, let's say we had the inverse situation, where we had all of these fields and we said, you know what, we need everything here except the first published at. We don't care about that field. Well, we could say, give us all the fields, and then put a comma, and then a minus sign, and then the field name. And we'll see that here. Fields is equal to show us everything except that first published at. Get rid of that one. And what used to be here is no longer here. And so now we're getting all the information and we're just saying, yep, I want everything except that one thing. So you don't have to write out anything super long in your URL. Next, let's take a look at basically pagination. So a good example here is going to be, let's do limit is equal to 4. So right now we have a total of 8 pages and we're going to limit this to 4. So give me 4 pages. So we can see the or query parameter limit is equal to 4. It gives us a total of 8, saying that you actually have 8 published pages. You have 8 pages available. But if you were to count the number of items, we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. And there's nothing else. So it actually only gave us the 4. And that started on page ID 3 and is incrementing by the page ID. So let's say we wanted to offset this a little bit. Let's say we wanted the last 4. So we know that there's 8 and we want 4 per page. We can do offset is equal to 4. Again, we can see that here. And now we have ID 7, 9, 10, and 11. So it skipped the first 4 and went to the next 4. And that's how we create pagination, which actually brings me to my next point. My next point is about ordering. So you see how it's ordering by the ID right now. So it's ID 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, and that's it. What if we wanted to order by title? So we could do order is equal to, and then the field name. Now this field name should be a field name that's similar across every single page. Otherwise, this is not going to work. And your best bet is to use a field that's already existing inside of Wagtail's page class. And a good example of that is title. So we're going to order by title. Again, we still have 8 pages. Starts with ID 4 instead of 3, and starts with the letter A. The title, article, and then B, and then more B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and then skips all the way down to V. So now we're ordering by the title. And if we wanted to order in reverse title, we could do negative title. So order is equal to minus sign title, which is the same as ordering in Django's ORM. It's just saying order by the title, but in backwards order. So it starts with V, then H, then F, then C, then B, then A. You get the point. Okay, I'm going to show you another one where you can order by random. Now, I am not a fan of this one. Unless there is a specific application purpose for this, random gets to be a pretty heavy process. So this is going to order, it starts with 10, 5, 6. And then if I refresh, it's going to show me 7, 11, the convenience store, and 5. So it's going to consistently change if you order by random. Just remember that random is expensive on a database. So if you're trying to fetch 1,000 pages and order them randomly, it's going to take a little bit of time. So let's take a look at filtering now. We just want to filter by a field that every page has, a slug. And let's say we want to filter by the slug called home. This gives us a total count of 1, and the slug is home. Is there one called blog? We can do that too. So now we have another way for our front-end frameworks to simply look up a page by the slug. It doesn't necessarily have to look it up by a page ID or anything. It can look it up by the slug. Now this is not going to give you every single field that you're looking for because, as mentioned before, this doesn't have like banner title and other fields that we've enabled in there. Okay, so we have homepage ID is equal to 3. What if we did question mark ID is equal to 3? It's going to give us just our one page, so we can filter by that as well. If we change it to 5, it's going to change to the blog listing page. So that is a way that we can filter. And one that is actually quite useful is if we did show in menus is equal to true. This will show nothing because apparently none of my pages are allowed to show up in menus, but if there were pages in there, this would show them. Okay, so let's do one more in here. So we have pages 5. I believe this is our blog listing page. Yep, it is. Let's say we wanted all pages that are a child of this particular page. So we know the ID is 5. Let's change our URL to say question mark child underscore of is equal to 5. So child of is equal to 5. This gives us a total count. This gives us a blog detail page, article blog page, and a video blog page. So what this is saying is get page number 5, which is our blog listing page, and then return all of the blog pages. That's all the child pages, but don't return itself because we don't want that one included. Now, the nice thing about this one is it will only get the child pages. If you wanted child pages of other child pages, we would change this from child of to, see if I can spell this right, descendant of 5. Haha, it worked. This is not going to show us anything different because we don't have child pages of child pages. But if, for example, this blog detail page had a contact page underneath it, it would also show that page in here. So kind of a bad example, but that's how you would get all the child pages of child pages. All right, let's go back to our listing page and let's talk about searching. So we can do a search. This is going to perform a full text search on searchable fields. And we just want to type in search is equal to, what is something that we want to search for in here? Let's type in blog. So it gives us total of 5. We've got a blog listing page. The title is blog. Blog detail page. Blog is in the title. Blog is in the title. Blog is in the title, and blog is in the title. So we did a search there, did a full text search on title. Now that may not be limited to title. It will be, however, limited to whatever fields you tell it to be limited to in your search fields inside of your pages. Now, because that's something we haven't actually covered yet in this course, I'm just going to open up Page and I'm going to show you what that looks like. Where is it? So we have search fields in here, and by default, it's going to apply an index.search field for title, autocomplete field for title, filter field for title, ID, live, owner, content type, path, depth, locked, show in menus, first published, and last revision created at. And you can add additional fields to this if you wanted to. So you could go into your home page and you could have something along these lines. Make some space and move that up. And it will be page.search fields plus a list, and then we could put index.search field or filter field inside of here. And that could match possibly our banner title if we wanted to. So that's how we would extend searching there. We're not going to do that, but that's how you would go about doing that. All right, and lastly, let's look at default data points or fields that are returned to us. So we are in Pages, which is actually a little bit different from Images and Documents. In Pages, we are always given a title, a meta slug, a meta show in menus, and a better example is actually not on the listing page, it's on the detail page. Our title, no, that's the wrong one. Where are we? We have a title, we have our meta slug, we have our meta show in menus, we have our meta SEO title. All of these are going to show up by default, including your ID. So that will come with every single page. Now, what if you looked at an image? And it's not image, it's images. Okay, so we have images in here. Let's take a look at image ID number 1. That's our first one. I got the ID from right there. This will always return a title, width, height, meta tags, download URL, detail URL. All this stuff is just the default stuff that it will always show to you in your unmodified detail view. And likewise in documents, which it's not going to show anything because I don't have a document in here to show you. But the document is going to show basically the exact same stuff. Title, tags, download URL, no width and height because it's a document. And that's about it. And then there's just one last thing I want to talk to you about is where to find all of this, because this is a lot to take in through a video. And in the future, there's going to be a lot more to talk about. So you can always head on over to docs.wagtail.io. I'm not going to say that entire URL. And for whatever reason, I had the version 2 in there. I wanted Wagtail version 2.4. Fetching content. This is what we're looking at here. And this has example responses in here. This will go over custom page fields in our API, which is something that we talked about already. Pagination we covered, ordering we covered, random ordering we covered, filtering we covered, filtering by tree position, child of and descendant of, yep, those are both covered. We did a quick little search. We did not get into search operator, but feel free to explore that if you wanted to. If you wanted to add an and or an or sign to your search to sort of expand it or narrow it, you could do that. And fields, additional fields, all fields, removing fields, certain fields, my fields, your fields, and then detail views for pages, images, and documents. So we covered a lot in here. One that we did not cover was finding pages by your HTML path. Actually, this is a good one. I'm actually going to have to show you this one because this is really, really useful when it comes to single page applications. So let's go back to our pages listing view, and you can find individual page by its HTML path using the API/v2/pages/find. HTML path is equal to, and then whatever the path is. So let's type in HTML_path is equal to, and just a slash. And I typed that wrong because it's supposed to be find. That's better. And so what it did was it automatically redirected me to a detail page. API v2 pages/find HTML path is equal to the root path. And this automatically brings me to the detail view. So what this does is it redirects me is I'm back onto the detail view. If we wanted to see other pages, we could get it by the HTML path as well. Where are we here? So let's look at blog post 1. It's like Air Force 1, but for blogs. Find HTML_path is equal to, and I'm just going to paste that path in here. Hit enter, and it brings me to the detail view. So if you already have the path, which you can get from your HTML URL, alternatively, you could build it through a slug field. Where is the slug? Right there. Through that slug and the parent slug, you could build it through there, and it will bring you to the detail view. Very, very useful for single page applications. Okay, so that one is checked off. We have learned about that one. Default endpoint views. Yeah, we've talked about all sorts of things in here, and I think that's everything. That does not include V1 because V1 is not relevant anymore. All right, so that wraps up how to fetch content using the Wagtail v2 API. Everything is accessible through the URL, And one last thing to remember is that these are read-only views. So you cannot post to this. In fact, let's click on options. We cannot post to this and update any sort of views in here. It just doesn't work that way. Not yet. As of Wagtail 2.4, that's not an option, but possibly in the future it will be. All right, we have covered a lot in this lesson. We actually covered an entire page in the Wagtail docs, which you can find in the description down below. My name is Caleb Tully, and I'm the voice behind the video. If you're interested in other videos about learning Wagtail, you can always go to learnwagtail.com to find more. You can always click the playlist icon in the top right. If you like this video, if you thought it was helpful, don't forget you can share, you can subscribe, and you can comment. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and I will see you in the next one.